Are you ready? 1 second. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله حمد الشاكرين الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا وإمامنا وحبيبنا وقدوتنا وقرة أعيننا سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to make us all mubarakin and to make this night a night that is mubarakah, this night of the 5th of Jumad al-Awwal of the Hijri year 1438 since Hijrat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which translates into February 3rd of the Gregorian year of 2017. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to do that which is good and accept that from us and multiply the reward. إِنَّهُ وَلِيُّ ذَلِكَ وَالْقَادِرُ عَلَيْهِ. As you know, the topic of tonight's monthly lecture, which happens every first Friday of the month, will be the relationship between Bayt al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the Sahabah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and may Allah be pleased with them all. As you remember, the last 3 monthly lectures, or over the last 3 monthly lectures, we talked about the Sahabah and we talked about Bayt individually, independently, or if you wish. And they were very sweet talks. So tonight we're going to be talking about both of them, and it's going to be even sweeter. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. In principle, we shouldn't make a distinction between Al-Bayt and the Sahabah, because there is absolutely no distinction. But the reason we're actually talking about the relationship and kind of investigating and looking into the facts to see what kind of relationship existed between the Sahaba and Ahlul Bayt. The reason we're doing that is obviously because there is a need to do so. The need to do so is because there are a lot of groups, unfortunately, who came afterward and started to make this distinction between the Sahaba and the Ahlul Bayt. Even they went further and they started to claim some myths that has, as we're going to see today, it has nothing to do with facts. And facts don't lie. And that's what we're going to base our discussion tonight on pure historical facts that tells us what kind of relationship existed, right? They started to create those myths and they started to invent and fabricate, a non-existent relationship, a relationship of hatred and sometimes of rivalry, or, that there was some kind of a competition between the two groups, I mean the Sahaba and the Ahlul Bayt, which we're going to actually clear tonight, and we're going to see that none of this existed. It's all myths, it's all fabricated. The facts don't support that, as a matter of fact, as we're going to see tonight. Crystal clear facts that tells us about the relationship that existed between the Sahaba and Ahlul Bayt, alayhimus salatu wassalam. For those who attended the last 3 lectures, remember that in our discussion of the Sahaba and Ahlul Bayt, we defined who the Sahaba are, who is the Sahabi, and we defined who the Ahlul Bayt are, right? And we talked about their rights on us, their status, about their favor, about their fadl, right? About their virtues, and about their rights upon us. We talked about both groups. Just a quick refresher, if you wish, for those, who weren't necessarily with us the last couple of lectures, or for those who may have forgotten about it, just a very quick refresher so that we can talk about the relationship between the two. Who is the Sahabi? We said the Sahabi, the companion of the Prophet, and we're talking obviously is the Sahabah of the Prophet, because each one of us has a Sahabi, yani a friend. We all have friends, right? They are our Sahaba, our companions. They are our friends. But we're talking about specific companions. These are the companions that are related in a companionship with Rasul, with a particular person, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We said the Sahabi is any person who met Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Because we don't want to exclude the blind, like Ibn Ummi Maktoum, who was a blind who couldn't see. So he couldn't see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But he met with him, alayhi salatu wasalam. So he's still a Sahabi. So we don't see the one who saw Rasulullah, but the one who met, male or female. Any person who met Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, right? While in a state of belief in Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Yani, he or she entered Islam, they were, Muslim, they met Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam while they are Muslim, right? And they died on that state, on that state of belief in Islam. We say that they met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That excludes the ones who believed in him, believed in Allah Azza wa Jal, entered Islam, yet they didn't get the honor of meeting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because all of the honor of this companionship is meeting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if they believed in him, yet they didn't meet, they never met him. Either because they were in different other countries, they never got the chance to meet him, alayhi salatu wassalam. Or when they came to Medina, they did so after he, alayhi salatu wassalam, passed away. So they didn't get that honor. They're not called Sahaba. They're Muslims, no question about that, but they're not called Sahaba, right? Likewise, so saying met Rasulullah exclude the ones who believed but did not meet him. We say that they were Muslim when they met him. This excludes the ones who met him, but they did while they were not believing in him, like Abu Lahab, right, and other people who did not disbelieve in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may even fought him, alayhi salatu wassalam. So they're not called Sahaba. They met with him, they sat down with him, but they didn't believe in him, so they're not called Sahaba. Likewise, we said and met on that state. Yani died on that state. Died on the state of belief. This excludes the ones who reverted back, who committed apostasy, right? So this excludes those who, after meeting him while in a state of Islam, they may have reverted back to disbelief. So they're not Sahaba. The Sahaba are the ones who died while on a state of belief. Yes. There is a difference of opinion among the scholars about whether even, like for example, even Al-Hasan wal-Husayn, the sons of Ali ibn Abi Talib, when Rasulullah ﷺ passed away, they were also very young, right? They were actually very young. So some of the scholars, they actually consider them as Sahaba. Some of them, they say, no, they were too young to be called Sahaba. But the point is, any person who is able to discern matters, yani they're old enough to discern matters, even if they not have reached the age of puberty. Yani they're not mukallaf yet. But they discern matters. 7 years old, 8 years old, right? They are able to discern matters and they are able to, they have a sound mind. Then in met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would be called Sahaba. Now, so in short, the thing to remember, the Sahabi is the one who met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam while in a state of Islam and died on that state. Male or female, young or adult. All of these are called Sahaba. Also, with respect to Al-Bayt, So these are the Sahabah. With respect to Al-Bayt, radiyallahu anhum wa ardahum, we said that the strongest opinion, remember we talked about several opinions. The strongest, in short, the strongest opinion, and even the closer to logic, is the opinion that Ahlul Bayt are the offsprings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the close relatives of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And those close relatives are everybody who is from Bani Hashim, as we said, right? So obviously the offsprings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, it goes without saying, right? The wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam are also called Ahlul Bayt. And we talked about all the evidences. We've given, if you remember, a lot of evidences, linguistically, from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, from the Quran, remember? We talked about them. All of them where Allah Azza wa Jal called the wives as Ahlul Bayt. وَسَارَ بِأَهْلِهِ Musa alayhi salam. Yani, he walked and traveled with his wife. So Allah Azza wa Jal called him Ahlul Bayt. But I found an interesting hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, which is a variation or in a different narration on a tashahhud that we do in the prayers. There are multiple narrations of the wording of a tashahhud in the prayer. One of them is, and this is, like I said, in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. Abi Humayd al-Sa'idi radiyallahu anhu, he narrated that the Sahaba asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how we know how to say salam to you. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. So how do we make salat upon you, O Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He said, قولوا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أزواجه وذريته كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى أزواجه وذريته كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. And this is muttafaq alayh, agreed upon its authenticity. Yani, the Prophet ﷺ said, say, O Allah, exalt the mention of Muhammad and his wives and his offsprings, like you exalted, or as you exalted the mention of the family of Ibrahim, and bless Muhammad and the wives and the offsprings of Muhammad as you bless the family of Ibrahim. You are the praised, the glorious. The scholars have said, now obviously in other narration of this tashahhud, right? The tashahhud of salah. In another narration, it says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. The scholars have said that this narration explains the other narrations. The other narration. Notice, one of them says, wa ala ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. The other narration, it says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala azwajihi wa dhurriyyatih. So this explains what Al-Muhammad are. Al-Muhammad are his wives and offsprings. Yani Al-Muhammad are azwajihi wa dhurriyyatihi. You see, they explain. There is no contradiction. Some people say, well, wait a minute, this is a contradiction among the hadith. La ya akhi, there is no contradiction. One of them clears and explains the other. So you say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Or you say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala azwajihi wa dhurriyyatihi. No problem. One of them explains the other. And both of them refer to Al-Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. And we said also it includes the relatives as well, the close relatives of Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. And we said that these are everybody from Bani Hashim. And you said, we remember, Hashim has three siblings, right? And Rasulullah ﷺ is one of the offspring. Yani Hashim ibn Abd Manaf is the great grandfather of Rasulullah ﷺ. For our Prophet ﷺ is Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. And remember, Abdul Muttalib is Shaybat al-Hamd. But he came to be known as Abdul Muttalib. So he is Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim ibn Abd Manaf. So everybody who comes up, or is his lineage or her lineage, goes through Hashim ibn Abd Manaf, he is from Al-Bayt. And we said that a lot of them did not have continuing offsprings. Yani a lot of them, their offsprings have terminated. The ones that have offsprings who continue to our date, because the question, Do Ahl al-Bayt exist today? The answer is yes, absolutely. They do exist. Some of their offsprings are still existing among us. So the offsprings that still exist are all the offsprings of 4 of the sons of Abdul Muttalib. Jadd al-Nabi, the grandfather of the Prophet ﷺ. And these are Abu Talib and Al-Abbas and Al-Harith and Abu Lahab. All of them Banu Abdul Muttalib. Because Abdul Muttalib had more children, right? He had more sons and daughters than these 4. But all of them, their offspring has terminated. The only 4 who continue to have offsprings are Al-Harith and Abu Lahab and Al-Abbas and Abu Talib. All of them are Bani Abdul Muttalib, the sons of Abdul Muttalib. So anyone who is from Ahl al-Bayt has to come from one of these. Has to be from one of these. And these are the ones who we said that zakah is forbidden for them. They're not allowed to take zakah, as we discussed before. And like we said, this is not as to deprive them of zakat, but as a matter of fact, it is an honor to them from Allah Azza wa Jal, because this is the filth of the money of people. Zakah purifies the money, right? So they are more honorable to get there. And like we said, Allah Azza wa Jal has actually made it up for them by giving them the fifth of the revenues that come to the Muslim Ummah from al-jihad, from or any other source of income. They get the fifth of the fifth, yani 4%. It gets divided to them to provide them with what they need, because some of them may be needy. It's possible that some of Ahl al-Bayt are needy; they're not wealthy, right? So to avoid a situation where they need to beg people or to ask people or to take zakah, Allah Azza wa Jal has made for them this 4%, which is the fifth of the fifth. Right. You notice, and this is something, I don't know if it occurred to you before, but I didn't mention it before. You notice that a lot of Ahl al-Bayt who lived at the time of Rasulullah ﷺ are also what? Sahabah. Yani they are from Ahl al-Bayt and at the same time Sahabah, because the definition of a Sahabi applied to them. They met Rasulullah ﷺ, obviously, because they lived during his time. They believed in him, and they died on that state. Yani Ali ibn Abi Talib is from Ahl al-Bayt and Sahabi. Fatima bint Rasulullah ﷺ is a Sahabiyah and from Ahl al-Bayt. She's the daughter, right? Al-Hasan wal-Husayn, likewise. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, Aqil ibn Abi Talib, Al-Abbas, Hamza, all of them are Sahaba and from Ahl al-Bayt, right? All of them. And their sons who lived during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So those from Ahl al-Bayt who lived during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they actually combine the two honors. The honor of the companionship and the honor of coming from that honorable lineage, from that honorable household of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, right? And the other quick difference, minor difference, I'm pretty sure you'll figure this out, that obviously the Sahaba, are there Sahaba today? No way, right? They all passed away. Unless somebody lived for 1,000 years. But all of them, Sahaba do not exist today. They only lived during the time and possibly outlived Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for a certain period of time. But all of them died eventually, right? The offsprings of Ahl al-Bayt, they still live today. So they still have some rights upon us that we can actually give to them, because, in some countries, we may have some of them living among us, if they can prove that they are from this honorable household. And they deserve the love, they deserve the muwala, alliance with them, actually putting them first in front of us if they happen to be, if one of Ahl al-Bayt, right? And you have a gathering, they should be given, the head of the majlis, if you wish. Like, for example, there is the top or the head of the majlis, right? They should actually be given preference over others and be treated, with dignity. And they should be given more preference and, honor them and love them and treat them well, right? But the Sahaba, you cannot do that. but we can still love them, obviously, and know their fadl and their virtues and their rights upon us, like we discussed before, no need to repeat, right? So this is the second difference. And there is no better, nicer or way than what Sharik ibn Abdullah said. He said, if Abu Bakr and Umar and Ali radiyallahu anhum ajma'in, they came to me and each one of them asked for a need, for something, I would give preference to Ali ibn Abi Talib, and Abu Bakr and Umar are better than him. Why? To honor him because he is from that honorable household. Abu Bakr and Umar are still better, right? But I would give preference to Ali because he is as an honor to Rasulullah ﷺ that he comes from that honorable household, for the kinship to Rasulullah ﷺ. Now, and his wives, obviously, like we said, they are from Al-Bayt, and not only that, they have the honor of being called the mothers of al-mu'mineen. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the ayah of Surah Al-Ahzab, النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم وأزواجه أمهاتهم. The Prophet is more worthy of the believers than themselves, and his wives are like their mothers, or are like their mothers, like in a position of their mothers. So Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as that they are the mothers of all the mu'mineen. And the one who does not agree or does not take or does not accept them meaning the wives of the Prophet, who does not accept them as their mothers, reject them as his mothers or her mothers, then they are not from the mu'mineen. Because Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَأَزْوَاجُهُ أُمَّهَاتُهُم. And his wives are their mothers. There is referring to who? Al-mu'mineen. If somebody claims that I reject, they are not my mother, then they are not from the mu'mineen, right? And I remember, there's just a quick story, just a very quick diversion, subhanAllah. A person from those who they call themselves Shia, right? He came to the scholar, their scholar, and he said, oh scholar, I read in the Quran this ayah. Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم وأزواجه أمهاتهم. So Aisha is my mother. He said, yeah, but she did this. But wait, he said, wait a minute. Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, وَأَزْوَاجُهُ أُمَّهَاتُهُم. So she is my mother. If I call myself a mu'min, she is my mother. And he kept on going around, but he said, no, wait a minute. I can't allow you to, he was a mindful person. It was a straight mind. He's like, but Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, she's my mother, and I wouldn't allow anybody to talk about my mother in a bad way. She is my mother. What are you saying? Allah Azza wa Jal is saying that. Not me, not you, not a scholar. Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, وَأَزْوَاجُهُ أُمَّهَاتُهُم. So she is my mother, and I wouldn't allow anybody to talk about my mother. SubhanAllah. And like I said, this distinction between Al-Bayt and the Sahabah, wallahi, in principle, it shouldn't be the case. Like I said, they're all on the same scale. We love them all. We respect them all, and we know their virtues, we know their rights, right? We don't distinguish between one of them. But like I said, the distinction has forced itself because of, what was said and what was claimed and fabricated upon this relationship. And this is what we're going to investigate today and kind of clear the mist from the facts. And let me, before I go get into this, is to say what the poet says. He said, إِنِّي أُحِبُّ أَبَا حَفْصٍ وَشِيعَتَهُ كما أحب عتيقا صاحب الغار ولقد رضيت عليا قدوة علما وما رضيت بقتل الشيخ في الدار. He mentioned the four خلفاء الراشدين. He said, إني أحب, I love أبا حفص. Who is Abu Hafs? Umar ibn al-Khattab. He said, I love Abu Hafs. I love Umar ibn al-Khattab وشيعته, and the people around him. Whoever make taraddi upon him. كما أحب, likewise, I love عتيقا صاحب الدار, the sheikh, the elderly sheikh. Who is that in the cave with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Abu Bakr. عتيقا صاحب الغار, the one who accompanied Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the cave. وَلَقَدْ رَضِيتُ عَلِيًّا قُدْوَةً عَلَمًا. And I accept and I love and I take Ali as a guide and as a knowledgeable person and a alam, somebody to be guided with. وَمَا رَضِيتُ بِقَتْلِ الشَّيْخِ فِي الدَّارِ. And I was not pleased, I was displeased by the killing of a sheikh. Who is a sheikh who was killed in his house? Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. So notice in these two proverbs or two verses of poetry, he mentioned the four of them. No distinction. Ali is from Al-Bayt, and the remaining three are Sahabah. What's the distinction? We know their virtues and we know their rights upon us. And if you remember when we talked about Ahl-Bayt, we talked about their rights, the two types of rights. Remember the spiritual rights and the financial rights. Again, no need to talk about that. We've already talked about that. But we also mentioned that the condition to claim the rights of Ahl-Bayt, obviously the person has to be a Muslim. It is conceivable that from some of Ahl-Bayt who came later on, they may revert back from Islam. They are human beings in the end. Some of them may, for whatever reason, or they may have diverted from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, etc. So we say they have to be, to get those rights of love and etc. They have to be Muslim, right? And they have to prove that they belong to that honorable house. And not anybody just come and say, and I am from Ahlul Bayt, give me the fifth. Wait, show us. This household has been so documented, so well documented. Show us your tree, the family tree, and prove that you are from Ahlul Bayt. And absolutely, you get the love, you get the honor, you get everything. طيب. With that said, right? Tonight, inshallah, we're going to talk about this relationship between Ahlul Bayt and between the Sahabah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This relationship that Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran, that our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Sunnah, and the books of history, right? They all document and they all tell us and shed light about what type of relationship existed between those two groups, the group of the Sahaba and the group of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam. And even the straight mind, subhanallah, who looks at the history and who looks at Islam and know that both of them are pious people, how conceivable it is that they hated each other. How can a mu'min hate another mu'min? How can a mu'min curse another mu'min? It's just inconceivable. The Sahaba were the master of the piety. And Ahlul Bayt are also master of the piety. So how can they dislike one another or hate one another or carry hatred against another? It's just inconceivable. Even if we don't look at the facts, just a straight mind will tell you that they loved one another. Like every Muslim, like every mu'min would love another mu'min and take him as a wali, a light person. So what we're going to talk about is our methodology for tonight, or for this actually topic, which is Ahlul Bayt, and I don't think, or the relationship, and I don't think we're going to be able, in a concise time, to be able to cover all of that. I know we're going to have to split it. So we're going to actually talk about 3 points. 3 points. The first one is we're going to talk about the mutual praise, the outward mutual praise, explicit praise that existed between, from one way and the other, vice versa, right? From the Sahaba to Ahlul Bayt and from Ahlul Bayt to Sahaba, which tells us, if you see two person, each one of them praise the other. What does that tell you? They love one another. They have a relationship of respect and love and walaya, right? The second one is we're going to talk, or we're going to look at the relationship of marriage. The mutual marriage. This son married, this from Ahlul Bayt. From Ahlul Bayt, they married from the Sahaba, right? And even naming their children. When you see a lot of them, for example, they called their son Abu Bakr. Is it conceivable that they hate him? How can they hate him? And so many of them called their son Abu Bakr and Umar, right? And Uthman. It's inconceivable, right? So we're going to look at that. These two will be the next monthly lecture, right? The third thing that we're going to take a look, and this is our discussion tonight, inshallah, is we're going to, actually what we're going to talk about is the mutual praise. So tonight's discussion will focus on the mutual praise between the Sahabah and Ahlul Bayt. Next month, inshallah, if we are alive, we're going to talk about the marriage relationship, which also shed light about what kind of relationship between the two. And the third and the second one would be the names of their offsprings, which also tells us about what kind of relationship. We know that people, when you are blessed with a son or daughter, right, and you try to name them, to figure out a name for them. When you choose a name, it tells what makes you choose that name, because you love that person after somebody. A lot of people name their children after their father, for example, right? But if you are blessed with more than one child, you may choose from the names that you appreciate, your honor, in the hope that Allah Azza wa Jal will make them like them. That is why the absolutely most common name on the face of earth is what? Muhammad. There is a name that is used more often than Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Millions of people are called Muhammad. Why? Because we love him alayhi salatu wassalam. And we respect him. And we hope that our children will follow suit, will follow in his footsteps. That's why we call them Muhammad. Right? So these, the naming of the children also carries some weight about, what kind of relationship existed between the Sahaba and Ahlul Bayt. Do you agree? I want to take your opinion now. Do you agree that these three matters, the mutual praise, the marriage relationships, and naming our children, do you agree that these are actually facts that prove that they loved one another? Don't you agree? I think it's crystal clear, right? So let's investigate, or let's actually discuss the mutual praise between the Sahaba and the Ahlul Bayt. And we're going to take one way and then the other. So we're going to start with the praise of the Sahaba upon Ahlul Bayt. What the Sahaba said about Ahlul Bayt. Alayhim as-salatu was-salam. Let's take a look. The best of the Sahaba, right? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the head of the Sahaba, right? The master of them, radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. When Fatima bint Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came to him after he alayhi salatu was salam passed away, right? She was asking for the heritage, like every children when their father pass away, right? They look for the heritage, al-mirath. So there is a piece of land, among other things, and different things that he alayhi salatu wasalam left behind. It's called fadak, right? And there are other things that he alayhi salatu wasalam left behind. So she came to ask Abu Bakr, being the Khalifat al-Muslimin now, right? She asked for that. So Abu Bakr told her that I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam say that we, the group of the messengers, salawatu rabbi wa salamuhu alayhim ajma'in, we don't give heritage. We don't inherit except knowledge. نحن معشر الأنبياء لا نورث درهما ولا دينارا إنما نورث في العلم. This is what we get. He saw sadness on her face. But this is what Rasulullah ﷺ said. It's not his saying. He's not making that up from him. It's not up to him. This is the Sharia of Allah Azza wa Jal. And he had to say it. This is what he heard Rasulullah ﷺ said. So immediately after he told her, and he had to submit to the will of Allah Azza wa Jal, immediately after that he said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, by the whom my soul is in his hands. تبارك وتعالى. To connect and to maintain the kinship of Rasulullah ﷺ is more beloved to my heart than maintaining my own kinship. Yani he is meaning to maintain the kinship of the Ahl al-Bayt. Fatima is one of them. He said, Wallahi, it is more beloved to my heart to maintain the kinship of that honorable household than maintaining my own kinship. Yani Bani Abi Bakr. Look how much love they carry to them. Radiyallahu anhum wa ardahum. Then, after he became or as he was Khalifatul Muslimin, right? He actually also reminded the Muslimin of the wasiyyah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "Irqabu Muhammadan fi ali baytih." Remember the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his household. And we know that, remember in the last lecture we said in the hadith Sahih Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave the wasiyyah, he reminded us of his Ahl al-Bayt. He said, "Udhakkirukum ahla bayti." He repeated it 3 times. I remind you of my household. I remind you of my household. I remind you of my household. And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he reminded them of that wasiyyah. And he said, do not forget, remember the rights of Ahl al-Bayt radiallahu anhum wa ardahum. Also one day, and a lot of these facts, by the way, we've seen before, but I'm mentioning them in the context of the praise now, right? As opposed to the rights that we talked about before. One day, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, they were walking together and they met a couple of children playing together. One of them is Al-Hasan ibn Ali, his son, the son of Ali. So he took him and he played with him and, joyfully, he said, بِأَبِي شَبِيهٌ بِالنَّبِي لَيْسَ شَبِيهًا بِعَلِي. Yani, by Allah, he looks similar, he resembles Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he doesn't resemble Ali, his father. And he is actually saying that, playfully and, joyfully, and Ali ibn Abi Talib is laughing. He says, subhanallah, he looks exactly, and he was the closest in terms of outward resemblance, from the outside. He was the one who most resembled Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No wonder it shouldn't come as a surprise. He's his grandchild, right? Son of Fatima, right? So he resembled Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And here's our mother, the mother of the faithful, Aisha bint Abi Bakr, as-Siddiqa bint as-Siddiq radiyallahu anha wa an abiha. She said, I haven't seen, she's talking about Fatima bint Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, praising her. She said, I have not seen a person who is more truthful and who is closest in his speech than Fatima to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In other words, she was the closest in her speech, in her truthfulness, in the way she talked. She was the closest to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I haven't seen anybody who is more truthful except her father. Who is her father? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So after him, she is the closest to him, alayhi salatu wassalam. And she used to tell us about the way she would walk. She would walk exactly like her father, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And she would actually talk and walk and do everything exactly like he did, Rasulullah, like he did alayhi salatu wassalam. And also Aisha, if there was any rivalry, by Allah Azza wa Jal, I'm going to ask you by Allah, if there was any rivalry, why would Aisha praise Fatima? She didn't have to lie. She would just remain silent. She didn't have to say this, right? Nothing forces her to say that, right? She didn't have to say that. But she said that out of love to the Al-Bayt al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And she is one of them, Aisha, right? But she's praising another person. That tells us about what? Love. And then Aisha also, radiyallahu anha wardaha, she tells us about the status. What Fatima was for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. She said when she would come and enter the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he would immediately, she's the only one whom Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would immediately stand up and welcome her warmly and would kiss her in between her eyes, right? And he would make her sit where he was sitting, in his place. Radiyallahu anha wa ardaha. And here we have Al-Hasan ibn Ali radiyallahu anhu wa ardaha. He was passing by a group of people. And he said, Assalamu alaikum. Everybody replied. We said, Wa alaikum assalam. Abu Hurairah was one of them. He didn't reply. He remained silent. When he passed by, he actually stood up and walked toward him, hurried toward him. And he said, وَعَلَيْكَ السَّلَامُ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ يَا سَيِّدِي. My master. So they looked at him and they said, oh, Abu Hurairah, is this what you say to Al-Hasan? You say, Ya Sayyidi? He said, yes. didn't you hear that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or he said, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was on the mimbar and looked at Al-Hasan when he was a little young, and he said, Inna bani hadha sayyid. This child, yani meaning my grandchild, is a sayyid. And that is why I say, Ya sayyidi. Look at the love, respect. These are the facts, right? Subhanallah, and the facts don't lie. One day also Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu wa arda, he met Al-Hasan and he said, I want to see your, uncover your abdomen, right? I want to see your abdomen. And he said, why do you want to do that? He said, I want to kiss it because I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam kiss it. So I want to do likewise out of honor to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to his household, radiyallahu an Abi Hurayrata and an Al-Hasan and on his father Ali ibn Abi Talib, and may Allah be pleased with all of you. How is that? Allahumma ameen. When Al-Hasan ibn Ali passed away, radiyallahu anhu, Abu Hurayrah, he came to the people in the marketplace and he said, "O people, today your master died, Sayyid al-Muslimin." Because Rasulullah said, what? Inna ibni hadha Sayyid. So he said, today Sayyid al-Muslimin passed away, so shed tears upon him. And he shed tear upon Al-Hasan ibn Ali radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. Umar ibn al-Khattab, Khalifatul Mu'minin, Wali al-Muslimin, radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. When he was stabbed by that, may Allah treat him with what he deserves, that Majusi, who is who carried hatred, Abu Lu'lu'ah. May Allah treat him with what he deserves. And they said, the people asked him, they saw him that it was so severe that he's going to pass away. That's it. It's a fatal, right? It's a fatal injury, stabbing. They said, "Oh Umar, name somebody to follow you. Name the following Khalifa. Stakhlif. Who would you choose as the next Khalifa?" He said, "No, I won't choose it, but I would guide you to choose one of six." He asked them to choose one of six, and he said, my own son, Abdullah ibn Umar, is not one of them. Don't choose him. He said, choose among Ali ibn Abi Talib, or Uthman ibn Affan, or Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, or Zubayr ibn al-Awwam, or Talha ibn Ubaidillah, or Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He said, choose one of these six. These are the best among you. Choose one of them. And he mentioned Ali ibn Abi Talib, the first one. So he said, choose from this six, and he started by Ali ibn Abi Talib. And then Uthman, and then the rest of them. When, the earnings from al-jihad started to flow to Umar ibn al-Khattab, being al-Khalifa, right? They used to bring him, the garments, whatever they earn or they gain from those, fightings. He started to distribute them among al-Muhajirin and al-Ansar and the Muslimin, right? And he gave everybody except al-Hasan al-Husayn. He didn't give them anything. And then he said to them, I looked in all of them and I didn't find anything that is suitable for you. None of them is something that is suitable for you and for your honor. And then he asked for a suitable garment to be purchased from Yemen and to be brought for them. SubhanAllah. As an honor to the offsprings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And also he used to give the people, obviously, from Bayt al-Mal, right? Bayt Mal al-Muslimin. He used to distribute and to give from the good to the Muslimin that comes to the Muslim state, right? And he would give al-Muhajirin and al-Ansar, right, more than others from the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, more than others. He used to recognize the difference. Remember, we said all the Sahabah have rights, and all of them, but not all of them are the same. Remember, we said the Sabiqeen, those who entered Islam or submitted to Islam early on, and they fought with their souls and their money, they're not like the ones who afterward. So there is the distinction. There are some of them are better than others. So he actually recognized that, and he used to give al-Muhajirin al-Ansar more than the others, based upon them. And he used to give al-Hasan wal-Husayn more than others at their age. They were still young at the time. He used to give them more than the other Sahabah who were on that during similar age. He used to give them actually like Ali, their father, as much. So Abdullah ibn Umar, his own son, he came and he said, Ya abati. Umar, his father. He said, Oh father, I am older than Al-Hasan wal-Husayn, yet you give them more than you give me. Why is that? You know what he told them? What he told him? He said, their father is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who is your father? I'm sorry. Their grandfather is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who is your father? Who is your grandfather? Subhanallah. Who is his grandfather? Umar ibn al-Khattab owns father. He's saying, what's the comparison? Their grandfather is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who is your grandfather? No comparison. That's why I give him more. Subhanallah al-Azim. Look at the humbleness, look at the honor to the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is his own son, and his grandfather he was referring to is his own father. Yani Umar ibn al-Khattab. Umar ibn al-Khattab. So his father al-Khattab. Who is al-Khattab to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he also used to honor al-Abbas, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and know his rights. And if you remember, we actually mentioned this before. Umar ibn al-Khattab was the first Khalifa who started to create the records for the Muslimin. To start recording all the vitals, the names of the Muslims at the time, and then who is born, who passed away, etc. So he asked the people, who do you think we should start with? Who is the first name we should actually record? So all of them, they said, well, you are the Khalifa, obviously, we should start with you. He said, no. Let's start with Bayt Ali Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's start with Al-Abbas. He is the Khalifa, he is the head of the state. In today's word, naming, he is the president. He said, no, let's start with Al-Abbas out of honor to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. One day, Al-Husayn, one day Al-Husayn ibn Ali radiallahu anhu came to Umar ibn al-Khattab when he was Al-Khalifa. And he said, I want to ask him something, or I have a need for him. They said he is now meeting with Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. He was in charge of Sham at the time. So he was the leader of Sham. And he was meeting with the Khalifa. In other words, in today's word, his boss. Right? Muawiyah reports to who? Umar ibn al-Khattab. They said he is now privately talking to Muawiyah. He is busy with Muawiyah. So wait a minute. And then he found Abdullah ibn Umar, his own son, waiting as well before him. He was there already waiting. Also, he needed something from his father. And then it took a while. So Abdullah ibn Umar, he left. He said, it looks like it's taking a while. I'll come some other time. Al-Husayn afterward, he said, well, if Abdullah ibn Umar left, let me leave and I'll come back some time later. When he was done with Muawiyah, they told him that Al-Husayn came. They said, Abdullah, your son came. And then he left. And he said, what else? He said, Al-Husayn ibn Ali also he came and then left. He said, how did you allow him to leave? Bring him. And then he talked to him, why did you leave? He said, well, I saw your son, left, and he's your own son. So I said, I should also as well leave and come some other time. He said, you deserve my attention more than my own son deserves. You are more worthy to attend to your needs and address your needs more than my own son. Subhanallah. Ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, a person came to him and he said to Abdullah ibn Umar, he said, I hate Ali. Radiallahu anhu. He said, Ibn Umar, he said, may Allah hate you like you hated Ali ibn Abi Talib. Do you hate somebody who he is in Islam, and he was among the first to enter Islam, and he did what he did, and he achieved, and he had first being in the Muslim, etc. How can you hate somebody like that? And he is from Al-Bayt, obviously, Ali ibn Abi Talib. So how can you hate such a person? May Allah hate you, right? A person came also to Abdullah ibn Umar. He came from Iraq. And he asked him about, now he's asking for a ruling. He said, what is the fiqhi ruling for the muhrim, the one who is in a state of ihram, right? What is the hukum of the person who is in a state of ihram for killing an insect in the masjid while in a state of ihram? So he asked him, where do you come? He saw him not from the area. He said, where do you come from? He said, from Iraq. He said, you come from Iraq? He said, yes. He said, subhanallah, wallahi, you, the people of Iraq are interesting. I wonder about your state. You killed the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Al-Husayn ibn Ali. And you're asking about what the ruling of killing an insect while you are in a state of ihram in the masjid. You killed the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Husayn ibn Ali. Are you guys out of your mind? Subhanallah al-Azim. Look at the weird thing. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib is the brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Both of them are the children of Abu Talib. And he is the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was the one among the first one to enter Islam also, the one of the first Muslim, right? And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to love him a lot. In particular, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. He migrated to Al-Habasha, or today's word, Ethiopia, right? He was among the Muslims who migrated early on, in the early days when they were facing calamities. And then he migrated to Medina to join with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the same time of the Battle of Khaybar, the conquest of Khaybar, when the Muslims were victorious, right? So he arrived Medina at the same time as the Muslim conquered Khaybar. As a matter of fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he actually said, "Wallahi, I don't know what I should be happier about. Is it Fathu Khaybar am Qudumu Ja'far? Is it Fathu Khaybar am Qudumu Ja'far? Should I be happier about the conquest of Khaybar or about the coming of Ja'far?" SubhanAllah. Both of them are such a joyful event. And then immediately, subhanAllah, after he migrated to Medina, he participated in the Battle of Mu'tah, and he was the leader of that army. And he actually the one who was carrying the flag. And subhanAllah, he was carrying it in his right hand, and it was cut off. So he held it with his left hand, and it was cut off. So he actually tried to hold the flag in any way he can, hardly able to hold it until he martyred in that battle, subhanallah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told the Sahabah that Allah Azza wa Jal has given him, instead of his hands, 2 wings in Jannah. So he was known as Ja'far ibn Abi Talib with the 2 wings. That's why he's called Ja'far al-Tayyar, the flying Ja'far, right? As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us. Ibn Umar, right? Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu, he met his son, the son of Ja'far, Abdullah ibn Ja'far. So he used to tell him, Assalamu alayka yabna dhil janahayn. Assalamu alayk, oh the son of the one who has 2 wings. And that's the beautiful name. This is usually when you call the person with the most beautiful name that he likes, that indicates what? Love to that person. A person came to Ali ibn Abi Talib. A person came to Muawiyah after what happened between Muawiyah and Ali ibn Abi Talib. The fighting and all the dispute and everything. A person came to Muawiyah and started talking in his presence. By the way, check this out. This is an interesting story. because it has actually multiple things related to it. A person came to Muawiyah and started talking badly about Ali in front of Muawiyah. Those who claim that there was a hatred between Muawiyah and Ali. Any person you hate, somebody come and talk against him in front of you. You'd be happy. Right? No problem, right? So Muawiyah, he actually disciplined that person. How can you talk about Ali like this, badly about Ali? And there were people in front of them. So they heard that, and one of them, he was wondering, he was surprised, like, what? Why would you actually discipline that person? It makes sense that you should be happy with that, right? Talking about Ali, right? With everything that happened. So that person went to Ali ibn Abi Talib and he told them, I witnessed something very interesting. He said, what? He said, this and this happened. So he told him the story. And he said, absolutely, I'm not surprised. Imagine, Ali ibn Abi Talib is saying, I'm not surprised that Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan defended me and did not allow that person to talk badly about him. He said, why? He said, I'll tell you why. He said, what actually made Muawiyah do what he did is al-manafiyya in both of us. What is al-manafiyya, brothers? Anybody can guess what is al-manafiyya? Al-manafiyya, this refers to Abd Manaf. A lot of people don't know this, by the way. Ali ibn Abi Talib is from Bani Hashim. Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan is from Bani Umayyah. And Bani Umayyah come from where? They come from Abd Shams. Abd Shams and Hashim are siblings, and both of them are the sons of Abd Manaf. He said, absolutely, he's my cousin. There is no hatred between them in the sense that people now hate one another. And this is what a lot of people try to depict. They fought, yes. They had disputes, yes. They had different opinions. Each one of them had an opinion and ended up in disputes, absolutely. But they didn't dispute or didn't fight because out of the hatred, because each one of them saw it differently. And each one of them saw that the haqq was with them. And they fought for what they saw as haqq. Not because of hatred to the other party. And there were Sahabah on this side and Sahabah on the other side. They didn't hate each other like some people depict, like I said. That's not the case. We now hate one another, the type of hatred that we know. That's not what happened between them. He said, I'm not surprised that he defended me. He's my cousin. We both are actually offsprings of Abd Manaf. We both come from Abd Manaf. My grandfather is Abd Shams, and his Ali grandfather is Hashim. And Hashim and Abd Manaf are actually siblings. Not only that, by the way, this is a side note, not only just siblings, guess what? Hashim and Abd Shams are twins. They came from exactly the same womb at the same time. They were twins. Yani the grandfather of Bani Umayyah and Muawiyah and Abu Sufyan and the grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hashim, they were twins, exact twins. How can there be hatred? They're cousins. Subhanallah. So Muawiyah defended Ali ibn Abi Talib. And wallahi, akhwan, if I were to actually mention all the stories that or the facts rather, that I actually was able to research, it will take a long, long time. But I'm going to try to actually kind of, summarize and skip a little bit here and there so that we don't take too much time. Let me actually just mention this last story about the praise of the Sahaba toward Ahlul Bayt. Remember, we're still actually in one way. We're talking about the praise of the Sahaba to Ahlul Bayt. Let me take one last story, inshallah, and then we'll go to the other side. Ahlul Bayt praising the Sahaba. Zayd ibn Thabit is one of the fuqaha of the Sahaba. And Abdullah ibn Abbas also is well known, is also from the scholars of the Sahaba. One day, Zayd ibn Thabit was on his animal, on his donkey. So Abdullah ibn Abbas, right, he met him and he actually held that animal for him. And he even held subhanAllah, the name escapes me, where the person would put his feet to mount on the animal. So Zayd ibn Thabit, he was surprised. He's like, you are from Al-Bayt, the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is not suitable for you, oh Abdullah ibn Abbas. Please, don't do that. So Abdullah ibn Abbas said to Zayd ibn Thabit, he said, this is what we were taught how to treat the scholars. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Abdullah ibn Abbas is saying to Zayd ibn Thabit, this is what we were taught to treat the scholars. So Zayd ibn Thabit came down, right? And he kissed the hand of Abdullah ibn Abbas, and he said, this is how we were taught to treat Ahl al-Bayt. Mutual. What are these people talking about? This is how the Sahaba treated Ahl al-Bayt, and this is how the Ahl al-Bayt treated the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. This is enough for the praise of Ahl al-Bayt, from the Sahaba to Ahl al-Bayt. Let's talk about the status of Ahl al-Bayt toward the Sahaba. How they talk about the Sahaba. Sayyid Ahl al-Bayt in his time, Ali ibn Abi Talib, right? One of the greatest members of the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was asked by his own son, Muhammad ibn Ali. He said, "Oh father, who is the best of the people after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam?" He said proudly, Abu Bakr. Ali ibn Abi Talib is saying, absolutely Abu Bakr. He said, then what? You. His son is saying. He said, after him, it must be you. He said, Umar ibn al-Khattab. He said, then after that, who? You. It must be you. Khalas. It has to be you. He said, I am not but a person of the Muslim. رجل من المسلمين. Look at the humbleness and look at the praise of the Sahaba. Once Ali ibn Abi Talib, when he was Khalifa, and you remember, or you may know that he actually moved the capital, if you wish, the capital of the Khilafah to Al-Kufa, right? From Medina, he moved it to Al-Kufa. He governed from Al-Kufa during his time. He stood up on the mimbar in the Masjid Al-Kufa, and he said, whoever make me better than Abu Bakr and Umar, I will actually beat him with the leather. What does he call it? Lash. I will lash him like I would lash the one who fabricate falsehoods. Muftari. He saw that whoever saying that Ali is better than Abu Bakr and Umar, it deserves lashing like the one who fabricate falsehoods. Subhanallah. And this is from Al-Bayt toward the Sahaba. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, again, when he was stabbed by this person, Majusi, right? People obviously came to him and they surrounded him, right? Because this is something terrible, Khalifat al-Muslimin being, stabbed fatally, right? It's not an easy matter. Abdullah ibn Abbas was there. And all of a sudden, he's narrating, he said, I felt a hand on my shoulder. So I looked, it was Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib, putting his hand on Abdullah ibn Abbas, looking at the dying Umar ibn al-Khattab, he said, Wallahi, I did not see any person more beloved to me that I would have the same deeds as he had. I wish I would have the same deeds that Umar ibn al-Khattab had or has, and I would meet Allah Azza wa Jal with them. And then he said, وَأَيْمُ which is an oath, as if he's saying, by Allah, I am sure that Allah Azza wa Jal will make you or will gather you with your two companions, meaning Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr. Will actually make you with them. Who is saying that? Ali ibn Abi Talib. Radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. And then he used to say also, why did he say that? That I know that Allah Azza wa Jal will gather you with your two companions, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Umar. He said, because I've heard so often from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in many ahadith, where he alayhi salatu wasalam would say, I came with Abu Bakr and Umar. I went with Abu Bakr and Umar. I entered with Abu Bakr and Umar. Many ahadith, right? Came, went, etc. with Abu Bakr and Umar. What does that tell you? The status of Abu Bakr and Umar radiyallahu anhum wa ardah. Abdullah ibn Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. You know Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, his son Abdullah, he used to say, we were governed by Abu Bakr. Now look at this praise to Abu Bakr. He said, we were governed by Abu Bakr and he was the best Khalifa. He was the best Khalifa. He was very merciful with us and he was very compassionate toward us. This is what he said about Abu Bakr. Al-Baqir, Imam Al-Baqir, which is also from the offspring, from Al-Bayt, who is Muhammad ibn Ali ibn al-Husayn, ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu. A person came to him and he asked him about Abu Bakr and Umar. Do you take them as wali? You know, هل تتولاهما? Do you take them as Allah and awliya? He said, absolutely. You know, I would take them. You know, and you should actually take them as wali. And notice this: should that be a sin, I will take that sin from you. Yani, I will be responsible for that. If there is any sin, now there is no sin. You know, just a hypothesis. If there is any sin that would come out of taking Abu Bakr and Ali as wali, I will bear it from you. I will actually take it, and I will be responsible for it. Subhanallah. A person named Salim ibn Abi Hafsa, he asked the Sadiq and Al-Baqir. Both are from A'immat Ahl Al-Bayt, right? And these, by the way, these two carry a lot of weight with respect to those who are known as Shia, right? Al-Baqir is Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, and Al-Sadiq is his son, Ja'far ibn Muhammad. He asked them about Abu Bakr and Umar. Should he take them as Allah? He said, absolutely take them as Allah, and be clear and disavow their enemies. Anybody who talk badly about them or disavow them, then you should disavow them. They are our Imam of guidance. Abu Bakr and Umar. Ali ibn Abi Talib, on the fight, during the fight of Al-Jamal, the battle of the camel, which is the dispute that happened between them. It's not our topic to talk about the story. But he said about Uthman ibn Affan, Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu arda. He said, Wallahi, I stand clear from those who killed him. I am innocent from the blood of Uthman ibn Affan. And Allah, take from me and give to Uthman ibn Affan. Take from me his right. If I actually, didn't give him his right for whatever reason, take from me to Uthman until you are pleased, O Allah. And then he recited the ayah of the Quran, Surah Al-Anbiya, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ سَبَقَتْ لَهُم مِّنَّ الْحُسْنَى أُولَٰئِكَ عَنْهَا مُبْعَدُونَ. Indeed, those for whom the best has proceeded from us, they are from it far removed. And then he said, Uthman is from them. He is among those that the best has proceeded from Allah Azza wa Jal to them. He is one of them. Look at the praise from Ali toward Uthman ibn Affan. Time. Al-Hasan, that the story very quickly, that Uthman ibn Affan was killed in his house and he was surrounded by these people and everything. Some of the Sahabah, they actually entered his house to defend him. Among them was who? Al-Hasan ibn Ali. Al-Hasan ibn Ali was among the people who entered the house of Uthman to defend him and to protect him, until he told them actually to go back to their houses, right? And they tried to defend him, radiyallahu anhu wa ardah, with the rest of the Sahaba. I'm trying to actually summarize here real quick because I don't want to take much longer than this. So I'm skipping some of the facts and some of the stories and kind of focusing on the ones that are most important. Okay, this is an interesting fact. Ja'far al-Sadiq, we just saw him, one of the Immat Ahl al-Bayt, right? who is Ja'far ibn Ali, ibn Muhammad ibn Ali, ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali, ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu. He used to say, that the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam were 12,000. 8,000 of them were from Medina. These are from the Muhajirin and the Ansar. Together, approximately 8,000 people. And then there was 2,000 from Mecca who remained in Mecca, right? From the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then another 2,000 from, various regions and from the others. So that's 12,000. He said, I haven't seen among them any of those who, from those, remember those misguided groups who came up, we're talking about them in the topic of Aqidah, Al-Qadariyya, Al-Mu'tazila, Al-Murji'a, Al-Mu'attila, those who disable the attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. All of these misguided methodologies, right? He said, I haven't seen any one of them with these convictions or with these misguidances, or a person of opinion who follow his opinion, even if it distracts from, or it flies in the face of the Sharia. And they used to shed tears during the night and the day. Subhanallah. So all the Sahaba are clear of all of these, and it is a praise to them. Radiyallahu anhum wa ardahum. This is how he described them, the Sahaba of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So consider what he said, to those who claim that they follow him. Those who claim that they follow him, and they say all the Sahaba have reverted back to disbelief. Compare that. Where is the fact from the myth? Wallahi, they are far away like the sky is from the earth. بعد الأرض عن السماء. طيب. All of these myths that they claim, and the fight and the dispute that happened between the Sahaba and the Al-Bayt, right, from the hatred and all of that, all those facts now show us that they are all myths. They are all fabrications. They don't have any share of fact, truthful fact. They don't exist, and it's all lies and fabrication. And the Sahaba and the Al-Bayt, they actually did not have any dispute except the normal dispute that happened between any person and another, even between the same household. Sometimes the sibling can have a dispute with his own sibling. It has nothing to do with that they are from this group or from that group. Some people claim that that there was hatred or dispute between Bani Hashim and Bani Umayyah. You've heard of this, right? They claim that no, they hate each other. And these Bani Hashim, they believed in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bani Umayyah, they disbelieved in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we say this has nothing to do with the facts. It is not that way. It has nothing to do with what your lineage is or who you come from. Because from Bani Hashim are those who actually disbelieved in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Here's Abu Lahab, right? The very uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And from his offsprings who disbelieved in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some of them may even have fought Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they are from Bani Hashim. And there are those from Bani Umayyah, or from Bani Abd Shams, who actually believed in him. So it has nothing to do with what your lineage is or who your grandfather is. It has nothing to do. It has to do with belief and disbelief. There are some from Bani Hashim who believed in him, and some others who disbelieved in him. Likewise, from Bani Umayyah or Bani Abd Shams, those who believed in him and followed him, alayhi salatu wassalam. Like Uthman ibn Affan, like Abi Sufyan. Yes, they disbelieved at the beginning. They didn't submit from the very beginning, but they eventually believed. Right? And Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, etc., etc. Eventually, they believed in Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do of which household you belong to or your lineage. Some of them, they try to throw that it has to do with, this battle or, the dispute in Camel, the Mawqa'at al-Jamal and Siffin, the dispute in Siffin between Ali and between Muawiyah. And we say, again, this has nothing to do with that. It's not the Al-Bayt against the Sahaba. Because a lot of Sahaba were with Ali, and some Sahaba were with Muawiyah, and Ali is from Al-Bayt. Each one of them, they made ijtihad, and they were worthy of being doing ijtihad. They thought who the haqq was with. Some of them sided with Ali, some of them sided with her. In each one of them, they thought and they saw the haqq with the party that they sided with. It has nothing to do with this or that. And all of the lies and all the falsehoods that, Bani Umayyah, like I said, that they used to somehow hate all of them, Bani Umayyah in general, right? Hate Bani Hashim, like I said, it has nothing to do with the facts. There's nothing that supports that. As a matter of fact, like I said, they are actually cousins. Hashim and Abd Shams, they were actually siblings and as well as twins. Type. Let me finish by this actually. Let me finish by this. A person came to Sharik ibn Abdullah ibn Abi Nimr. A person called Sharik ibn Abdullah ibn Abi Nimr. He used to describe himself and he used to be known as a Shi'i. Right? A person came to him and he said, which one is better? Abu Bakr or Ali? He said, absolutely Abu Bakr is better than Ali. And he is a Shi'i. He said, absolutely Abu Bakr is better than Ali. He said, how do you say this and you are a Shi'i, from the Shia? He said, this is what the Shia says. This is what the Shia should actually say. Right? Because I am Shi'i, I am saying Abu Bakr is better than Ali, and this is what the Shia should say. He said, because Ali ibn Abi Talib, Sharik ibn Abdullah, is saying that Ali ibn Abi Talib got one day on these pieces of wood, meaning that the mimbar, right? He said he got on this mimbar in Kufa, in the masjid of Kufa. And he said from the mimbar, Ali ibn Abi Talib is saying from the mimbar, that the best of this ummah is, after its prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, is Abu Bakr, then Umar, then he said, then Umar. So Sharik ibn Abdullah, he said, should we belie Ali? This is what he said. We claim to be his Shia, right? We say we are his followers. But this is what Ali said. Should we belie him? This is what he said, and we should follow him in what he said. So we say that Abu Bakr and Umar are better than, Ali ibn Abi Talib, like he said. Ja'far al-Sadiq, one of the A'imma of Al-Bayt, right, and one of the offsprings of Al-Husayn ibn Ali. He used to say, he actually used to make it a point. He said, وَلَدَنِي أَبُو بَكْرْ مَرَّتَيْن. Yani Abu Bakr, I come from the lineage, I am from his offsprings. Yani walad, I am his son, not directly. He gave me birth twice, indirectly. How? He gave him birth from both sides, from his mother and father. He said, he is my grandfather from two ways. Because the mother of Ja'far is Fatima bint al-Qasim bint Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. So from his maternal grandfather, Abu Bakr. And also his mother, her grandfather is Asma bint Abdul Rahman ibn Abi Bakr. So he connects to Abu Bakr from two ways in terms of lineage. Then he said, because he was asked, you should actually revile against Abu Bakr and curse him. He said, how can I revile him? And he is my grandfather from both ways. And then he said, Ja'far al-Sadiq, he said, may the shafa'ah, may the intercession of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam not reach me if I revile against Abu Bakr. Radiyallahu anhu. So this is from Al-Bayt praising the Sahabah, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. We hear about, I'm not sure if you heard about this group called the Zaydiyah, a group of Shia, but called the Zaydiyah. They exist mainly in Yemen, right? They associate with a person called Zayd ibn Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yani his grandfather, great-grandfather is al-Husayn ibn Ali. That is why they are called the Zaydiyah. People came to him and they claimed that they are his followers. So they said, what do you say Abu Bakr and Umar? He said, I mentioned them with all good, and he mentioned good about them. He said, don't you disavow them? He said, absolutely, no. They were the two, the right hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, right? How do I disavow them, right? They said, if you don't disavow them, then we will disavow you. We will stand clear from you, and we won't be with you. He said, yes, go away, for you are a Rafidah. You are the rejectionists. They rejected Abu Bakr and Umar, right? They didn't want to, so they want to revile him and disassociate with him. They said, go, you are a Rafida. And they were known as a Rafida since that day. So this Imam from Ahlul Bayt who called them a Rafida. And those who accepted him in connecting, associating with Abu Bakr and Umar, they are called the Zaydiyah. And they actually meet with Ahl Sunnah in associating with Abu Bakr and Umar. And we know that all of the scholars, let me finish by this, all the scholars, ya akhwan, from that day until our day, they all agreed in consensus about that there is relationship between the Sahabah and Ahl Bayt is a relationship of praise and honor and love, like we've seen, and they respect both of them, and they observe both of them. And all of them who wrote the books on Aqidah, they actually write the convictions, the belief that we hold as Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah in both the Sahaba and Ahl Bayt. And they mentioned that their love is Iman and their hatred is Nifaq and Fusuq wal iyadhu billah, is hypocrisy and sinful wal iyadhu billah. And this is the true factual relationship that existed between the Sahaba and Ahl Bayt, as we have brought forth the facts that actually support that. This is the true relationship between them, not what they fabricate and what they actually claim. And it's all claim. It is not supported by the facts. These are the facts. By Allah, after you heard all of these facts, how many facts have we mentioned now? After you've heard all of that, is it conceivable that there was any hatred between Ahl Bayt and the Sahaba? Is it conceivable? Wallahi, it cannot be, unless we live in a fairy tale. All of this, it's impossible, it's inconceivable that there was hatred after all of what we heard. Both ways, from Ahl Bayt to the Sahaba and the Sahaba toward Ahl Bayt, it leaves no doubt that there is no distinction between them. They didn't see each one of them as a different group, but rather they all, brotherly allies, awliya. They love one another, they support one another, they honor one another. رضي الله عنه وأرضاهم والله أعلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد. Any questions, any concerns, any additions? I'm sorry, I apologize. Wallahi, I tried my best to actually summarize and do it quicker. But akhwan, the facts are the facts. SubhanAllah, there are so many facts. And I didn't want to miss too many. Believe me, wallahi, I missed a lot. But I wanted to actually at least mention the most important ones. I know a lot of you may not have heard a lot of these facts. But these are the facts. This is what Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us. So that. Yes. So the question, just so that everybody, including the brothers and sisters online. So the question from the brother is, when we say in the tashahhud, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, the brother is asking, does this include Al Muhammad? Does it include the people from that honorable household who live even today? And I said, yes, absolutely. That covers all of Al Muhammad. The ones who passed away, the ones who came afterward, the ones who are still alive among us, who, like I said, the conditions of being from Ahl Bayt who deserve those rights are those who are Muslim, right, and who can be proved to be from Ahl Bayt, right. Even the ones who are living today, alive, they are included in that praise and exalted mention. Yes, this is their right. Even the Ahl Bayt who live today, they have that spiritual right of sending or praising or asking Allah Azza wa Jal to exalt their mention. Yes. Now, any other questions? Sada.
Ahlul Bayt, you said they are from the progeny of Abdul Muttalib, right?
Ahlul Bayt, yes.
Okay. So he had 4 sons.
He had more than that. Yes.
From the 4 sons, right?
Yes. So whoever exists today or after Rasulullah, after the time of Rasulullah, these are the only 4 sons of Abdul Muttalib who are from Bani Hashim, who have continuing offsprings. Now, during his time, the Ahlul Bayt are more than that. Because there is Al-Abbas, there is Hamza, Amr Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But he doesn't have offsprings that continued. Yani his offsprings or his lineage was cut off, right? But they are even the aunts of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib, and etc., etc. Yes.
So one of them is Abu Lahab, who was
Yeah.
Kafir. And so are there Ahl al-Bayt existing today who can be munafiq as well? Or who are
Yeah.
less of
Yes.
Muslim compared to other Muslims?
Yeah. Because Ahl al-Bayt are not ma'soom.
Not Muslim.
They're not infallible.
But
They're like other human beings. It is conceivable that they go astray, or they may even revert back from Islam. It is conceivable, and we see a lot of those who claim to be, Allahu A'lam, I don't know if they truly belong or not, but a lot of them claim to be from Ahl al-Bayt. And they rejected Sunnah of the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and what they say about the Sahabah. They went far away. Do we say that these are from Ahl al-Bayt? No, we don't say these are from Ahl al-Bayt. From lineage perspective, if they can prove it, they may be from the offsprings. But do they get the rights of sending salat upon them? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Do they get the financial rights for the fifth of the fifth? They don't deserve all of that. Because they don't meet the conditions to deserve those rights. So it is conceivable. And it is conceivable that some of those from Ahl al-Bayt, or from the lineage of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, from the relatives who did not believe in him, their offsprings became Muslim. So Abu Lahab, he died, never believed in Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And his immediate sons did not believe in him. But some of their offsprings did. And the offsprings of Abu Lahab continue until this date. Like I said, all from Bani Hashim are from Ahl al-Bayt. But whose offsprings, whose lineage continue until this date, they are from the children of Abdul Muttalib. All of the others, their lineage has cut off. And they are Abu Lahab, Al-Abbas, Abu Talib, right? And there's the fourth one, Al-Harith. Al-Harith ibn Abdul Muttalib. So there is Abu Talib ibn Abdul Muttalib, Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, Al-Harith ibn Abdul Muttalib, and Abu Lahab ibn Abdul Muttalib. Now,
How close are Zaydis to Ahl Sunnah?
they are one of the closest, if not the closest sects of Shia. The Shia are actually, by the way, many, many, many sects. Like in the tens of sects. A lot of people don't know this. But the biggest one of them in today's word is the ones called Shia al-Imamiyya al-Ithnay Ashariyya, who believe in the 12 infallible Imam. Yeah, the 12th one of them, they claim that he's lost his way, he's lost in the cave and he doesn't know how to get out, etc. Zaydiyya is another group of Shia. They actually like this with al-Imamiyya.
What's the difference?
The main difference is they don't believe in the 12 Imam. They actually dispute. They say no. They don't believe in those 12 Imam Ma'soom, who they claim that they are appointed by Allah Azza wa Jal, and they have those superpowers, and they attribute to them a lot of them, and they lied about them in hundreds of thousands of stories, all fabricated and invented. Zaydiyya, they don't believe in that. And they don't actually revile the Sahaba. They don't believe that they reverted back to kufr wal-iyadhu billah, or they committed apostasy. And they don't revile against Abu Bakr and Umar. They actually believe that they are better than Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yes, they believe in all of that. As a matter of fact, in Yemen, they pray in the same masajid of Ahl Sunnah, and they pray behind Ahl Sunnah. A Shi'i Imami would never do that.
What's the difference then?
Well, there are minor disagreements, meaning, they actually, I think, to be frank with you, I'm not 100% sure, but I know one of the differences is that they actually I'm sorry, I may have said that they actually prefer Abu Bakr and Umar. I'm sorry, they make Ali better than Abu Bakr and Umar, but they don't revile them, nor do they, claim that they disbelieved or anything, right? But they believe as Ali is better than them. This is one of the differences. But these differences, to be frank with you, are so minor compared to, the other misguidances of the other groups. So we can say, yes, they have minor misguidances. They differed from the consensus of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, because from our doctrine, from our Aqidah, we believe that Abu Bakr is the best of this ummah after its messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam. After him is Umar, after him is Uthman, after him is Ali ibn Abi Talib.
My thinking is we shouldn't go towards the differences in the sects of Islam, because this splitting of the ummah. If you just talk about common terms which unites the ummah is saying common. The other difference is just splitting up the whole ummah.
Believe me, brother, we're not actually on the contrary. We love for everybody to actually go back or come back to the path of Rasulullah, to the Sunnah of Rasulullah. We want this ummah to unite. We'd love to actually see it. But unite on what? Do we unite on anything? We're not gonna ever achieve that. The unification should only happen according to the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the only way. And Allah Azza wa Jal told us this, that if you dispute, فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ, if you dispute anything, then compare it back to what Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger said. فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. Right? And this is what we should do. Right? We have absolutely nothing believe me, we don't hold any hatred or anything toward them. All we say, how can you accuse the companions of Rasulullah ﷺ that they all reverted back from Islam? And they are who they are. And these are the facts. And we talked about the Sahabah individually, specifically, remember, 2 lectures about who they are and what they did and their virtues. How can you say that they all, after even Al-Bayt praised the Sahabah? Right? Even Ali ibn Abi Talib praised the Sahaba. How can you say what you say? How can you claim what you claim? This is all what we're saying. We'd love for them to come back and, seek forgiveness for what they said. Absolutely, no problem. No. Any other question?
What about the Abu Jahl?
Abu Jahl, disbeliever. Kafir billah.
What's the relation between Rasulullah and Abu Jahl?
Abu Jahl is one of his uncles. Yes. He is the brother of Abdullah, the father of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet is Muhammad ibn Abdullah, right? Abdullah is the brother of Abu Lahab. Both of them are the children of Abdul Muttalib. Yeah, Abu Jahl and Al-Abbas and Hamza and Abu Talib, they are all the siblings of Abdullah. All of them are the children of Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim. Clear? So the father of Rasulullah ﷺ and Abu Lahab are brothers. And they both are the children, the sons of Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim. Any other question? هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاكم الله خيرا for your patience and for listening well. بارك الله فيكم.